this year kind of marks the big entrance of EV, I think, into the aftermarket. I mean, we've seen it before at SEMA show, but this year, a lot more swapped vehicles, a lot more companies introducing products for EV vehicles. But this is the one that I think has caused everybody to talk about it, you know, good and bad. Project X, very famous vehicle, and they've got a new motor in here. It's an electric motor from GM. It's a proof of concept according to the GM folks. And Brian, tell us your impressions on Project X.
This is the part where he totally sets me up. So Project X has been around since the mid-1960s, probably the most famous magazine project car of all time. It's gone through all these different iterations and changes, from being a beater, you know, with a small block in it at the drag strip, to being made over by what was then GM Performance several years ago. Mike Copeland and his team did kind of a modern interpretation on the car. It's had blown big blocks in it, small blocks, you name it. It's had basically everything. Now it has a 340 horsepower electric motor in it. And I mean, look, it makes some sense, I guess, if we look at the lineage of the car and what the future is, and if this thing's supposed to kind of show the way. The only reason it falls flat for me is because you've taken basically a 700 plus horsepower engine out of this thing to put a 300 horsepower engine in. And I know the electric motors make a lot of torque. I've driven a lot of the modern electric cars and they drive really well. I just feel like the new 632 that GM announced would have been way cooler in this thing, and the third gen Camaro behind us that has the 632 in it should have the 300 horsepower electric motor.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have the same sentiment. They should have had the whole swap-a-roo, but you know, SEMA is about introducing new innovative products, and this is the latest stuff that Chevrolet and Chevrolet Performance are working on, and with the zero emissions push across their company, this fits the bill quite well.
Yeah, listen, the electric thing's here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and we're going to see a lot more of this stuff. I mean, guys have been swapping electric motors into classic cars in small kind of cottage industry style for many years. This happens to be the most famous one. The only thing I can hope is that this 340 horse engine is simply a starting point, and eventually, maybe not too far down the road, we're talking about a motor in this thing that makes 800 or 900 or 1,000 horsepower.
They're talking, some of the GM engineers were talking this thing's capable of 1,500 horsepower. I don't know what changes are needed, or 1,500 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know what changes are needed to accomplish that, but I think it is on the horizon. I think this was step one. Get it in there, fitment, all of it, introduce it to the world, then start turning up the power.
I guess my bottom line impression is this. Would I rather see Project X with an electric motor, or see it sitting in the corner of a museum or a warehouse being neglected somewhere? I'd certainly rather see it sitting here.